rain slapped against the narrow street like a warning. Adae sprinted across the puddled sidewalk, her bag clutched tight to her chest, shoes squelching with every desperate step. The neon lights of the city blurred against the rain, reflections of purple and gold, rippling across the wet asphalt. She reached the entrance of her building and pounded on the door, her knuckles stinging, heart hammering like a drum in her chest. "No, wait, please," she shouted, but the lock clicked. Her key refused to turn. The padlock gleamed, new, unyielding. She froze, her breath catching, and the cold rain soaked her jacket, chilling her to the bone. Inside, Jian's laughter echoed through the open window, sharp and deliberate. "Forgot your key again, Adae." The voice called, sweet as sugar but poisonous underneath. "Or maybe you just like standing in the rain," Adae's fists clenched. She knew this was coming. She'd felt the tension since she moved in. Jian had always been controlling, insisting she follow the house rules, watching her like a hawk. But this locking her out was different. This was manipulation, extortion, and humiliation, all wrapped in a cruel smile. Adae took a shivering step back, scanning the street. Empty. She had nowhere to go, no other place in this city, and no backup plan. Her phone buzzed in her pocket. A message from Jian: "Pay 200,000 won before I give you the key. Or don't bother coming in tonight, God bless." Her fingers trembled as she read it. 200,000 won. Half her month's paycheck gone before she even got inside. She swallowed hard, feeling a tightness in her chest, and whispered to herself, "Not again. Not now." Her thoughts flicked to the apartment where she had landed her job, where she'd finally started to breathe again. The office was just a few blocks away. Her boss had smiled at her during her first meeting, telling her she was exactly the kind of hire they needed. She had felt hope for the first time in months, and now it was slipping like water through her fingers. A shadow fell across the doorway. Min-soo, a colleague who had offered to help her move in earlier that week, jogged up, soaked but smiling. "Adae, you okay?" "What's going on?" Adae swallowed, trying to keep her voice steady. "Jian, she locked me out. She wants me to pay extra money." "I don't even have it." Min-soo frowned, scanning the street. "That's messed up. Come on, let's figure something out. We'll call someone or—" "No, I can't." Adae interrupted, her voice sharp with frustration and shame. "If I ask anyone else, it'll look like I can't handle my own life. I have to deal with this myself." Min-soo's gaze softened. "Adae, survival isn't about looking strong, it's about not letting them break you." She nodded, but her stomach churned. She felt trapped between her pride and reality. If she paid Jian, she'd feel humiliated. If she didn't, she'd sleep on the street. Her thoughts flicked to Tae-hun, the handsome guy from her office who had smiled at her the day she started, who had offered her coffee and casual conversation in the break room. Could she call him? She hesitated. Her pride whispered no, but desperation clawed at her insides. Minutes ticked by. The rain grew heavier, soaking her hair and running down her neck. Her chest tightened. The neon reflections of the city blurred into streaks of light, and for a moment she felt like she was disappearing, a small figure swallowed by the towering city around her. Finally, she sent a trembling text to Tae-hun. I'm stuck outside my apartment. Jian won't let me in. Can you help?" The wait felt endless. Her hands shook as she wiped rain from her eyes, and then a ping. Tae-hun had replied. "I'm on my way, don't move." A flicker of relief warmed her chest. But then she noticed Jaehyun's silhouette behind the window again, smirking. "Enjoying your little hero?" she called out, loud enough for Adae to hear. "I hope he doesn't come too late." Adae gritted her teeth, the rain dripping from her chin. "This isn't a game," she muttered. "I can't keep playing your games." Ji-yun laughed, and the sound grated against Adae's nerves like metal on metal. The door clicked, and a new voice called from the street. "Adae, over here." Tae-hun appeared, umbrella in hand, dripping but grinning. "Hey, you look like you've been through a war. Are you okay?" I don't know," Adae admitted, voice tight with emotion. She just locked me out, wants money I don't have. I can't keep." He put a hand on her shoulder, firm but comforting. "You won't have to. Let's get you inside." For a moment, her chest lifted with hope. Maybe not all of Seoul was against her. Maybe someone cared, but the faint flicker of Jiyeon's smirk reminded her that survival here would never be simple. Inside, the apartment smelled like stale coffee and rain. Jiyeon sat cross-legged on the couch, eyes sharp, phone in hand. "Oh, you brought him," she said sweetly. "I suppose that makes things interesting." Adae froze and Taehyun's brow furrowed. "Interesting how?" "Oh, nothing," Jiyeon replied, voice dripping honey and venom. "Just that some people never learn their place. But it's fine, I'll let Adae in, for a price." The words landed like a hammer. Adae's stomach sank, but she squared her shoulders. "Number, I'm done paying for your control." Ji-yeon tilted her head, surprised. "Bold," she said, almost impressed. "We'll see how long that lasts." Taehyun squeezed Adae's hand. "Don't let her break you. You're stronger than you think." Her chest tightened, not just from fear, but from something else too. Relief, yes, but also a flutter of warmth she hadn't expected. Taehyun's gaze held hers for a beat too long, and for a moment the tension between them was a spark against the storm outside. But the storm wasn't just outside. It was inside this apartment, inside the people she had to trust, and Adae knew survival would mean navigating danger and desire at the same time. She took a deep breath, heart hammering, rain still dripping from her hair. She would survive, she had to, and maybe, just maybe, she could even learn to love along the way. If you're loving Adae's journey so far, hit that subscribe button, like the video, and drop a comment telling us what you'd do if you were in her shoes. Adae sat on the curb outside the apartment, her coat soaked and heavy with rain, heart still hammering from the confrontation. Taehyun crouched beside her umbrella, shielding both of them from the coating. Worst of the downpour, but even his presence couldn't erase the tight knot of anxiety coiling in her chest. I thought I could trust her," she whispered, voice trembling more to herself than to him. "Jiyeon, we've known each other for years. I thought she was my friend." Taehyun's brow furrowed. "Friend? You mean the same Jiyeon who just locked you out in the rain?" "Yes," Adae said, voice tight, fists clenched on her knees. "She saved me from a lot of messes before. When I first came to Seoul, I had nothing. She offered me a place to stay, helped me with paperwork, even gave me advice at work. I trusted her. I trusted her completely." Taehyun's hand found hers, gripping gently, and now, Adae said, exhaling slowly. "I feel trapped, betrayed, afraid. Every little thing she does makes my chest tighten, my hands shake. I feel like I'm falling apart, but I can't show anyone. I can't." Her words hung in the wet air, mixing with the soft hiss of rain. Taehyun's eyes softened. "You don't have to handle it alone." Adae forced a small, bitter smile. "I don't know if anyone could understand. She's a master at making you question yourself. Every conversation, every glance. You never know what's genuine. Even now, I'm scared she's watching us from the window." Taehyun followed her gaze, squinting into the darkened apartment above. A faint silhouette lingered, then vanished. He let out a low whistle. "That's intense." Addie's mind drifted back, unbidden, to the first day she met Jurion. University dorms, the cramped hallways, the smell of instant noodles in the communal kitchen. Jurion had been the first person to greet her with warmth, offering friendship when Adae had felt invisible, unworthy. She remembered laughing with her over midnight study sessions, sharing dreams of escaping their struggles, promising they'd look out for each other no matter what. The memory felt like a knife in her chest. She had clung to that friendship like a lifeline, never imagining that same lifeline could become a noose. "And I don't know how I let it come to this," she murmured, curling into herself slightly. "I keep thinking maybe I deserved it. Maybe I wasn't careful enough. Maybe I shouldn't have trusted her so much." Taehyun's voice was gentle, almost a whisper. "You didn't deserve this, none of it, and you weren't careless. You just believed in someone who turned out to be something else. That's not on you." A shadow of a smile flickered on Adae's lips, fleeting and fragile. There was a warmth in Taehyun's words, a stability she hadn't felt in days, maybe weeks. Her chest eased slightly, but the cold, fear still clung. Jiyeon wasn't done with her yet, she could feel it. The next morning, Adae returned to the apartment building, drenched from another light rain that fell as if to remind her the city had no mercy. She hesitated at the door, fists hovering over the krent. Keypad. The padlock gleamed, still new and unyielding. Her stomach twisted. The city that had promised opportunity now felt like a maze of dangers, and her apartment was the epicenter. Jiyeon appeared at the window, a smirk playing on her lips. "Back so soon?" she called, voice saccharine. "Didn't think you'd make it through the night without me." Adae's heart thudded in her chest. She wanted to shout, to storm in, to demand justice, but fear held her still. She remembered the nights she had cried silently after Jiyeon's subtle manipulations, her food being eaten without warning, small personal items mysteriously disappearing, whispered threats about eviction if she didn't comply. Trauma didn't just hit once, it built, upon layer, until every interaction was a potential trigger. She lifted her gaze to Taehoon, who had followed her quietly, concern etched across his face. He offered a small nod. "You can do this," he said. "I'm right here." Adae took a shaky breath and pressed the keypad, heart racing. The door buzzed open, but the sense of danger never left her. Inside, Jiyeon lounged on the couch, phone in hand, the epitome of casual malice. "Oh, you came back," Jiyeon said, smiling sweetly. "I was wondering if you'd figure it out, or maybe you just like standing in the rain." Adae's hands shook. I need my things," she said, voice quivering but firm. "I don't have your money. I can't pay you extra." Jiyeon tilted her head, pretending to ponder. A shame. But maybe we can negotiate, you know. Friendship has its price sometimes." The words cut deeper than any slap. Adae remembered their friendship, the laughter, the secrets shared in confidence. And now, this was the price. She felt anger and fear coil in her chest, threatening to overwhelm her. Taehoon stepped forward. "You can't do this," he said, eyes blazing. "She's not going to pay you to get your own stuff back." Jiyoon's smile sharpened. "Oh, you're sweet. But this isn't about him, is it? It's about teaching Adae lessons she should have learned years ago." The words triggered a flashback. A day I remembered staying with Jiyeon when she had first arrived in Seoul, lonely and overwhelmed. Jiyeon had promised guidance but often used her insecurities against her, demanding favors, subtly undermining her confidence. Adae had laughed it off then, thinking it was friendship dynamics. Now, she recognized the pattern: manipulation, control, emotional torment. Her chest tightened and she felt panic rise like a wave. Fear, shame, betrayal. They weren't just feelings anymore, they were physical, tangible, suffocating. She wanted to cry, scream, flee. Stayed because leaving meant she'd admit defeat. Let Jiyeon win entirely. I'm not afraid," Adae said finally, voice trembling but steady. "I will get my things, I'll get out of here, and you won't control me anymore." Jiyeon's smile faltered slightly, as if surprised by Adae's defiance. "Bold," she said, voice still smooth, but boldness has consequences. Adae's pulse raced, but something inside her hardened. She had survived hardship before. She had endured loneliness, rejection, failure. She would endure this too. And maybe, just maybe, she could reclaim not only her things, but her dignity. Later that night, Adae sat alone in a quiet cafe, sipping hot tea, her hands still trembling slightly. Taehoon had left to get some paperwork done for work, but he had promised to check in. Stared out at the neon-lit streets, reflecting on Jiyeon's betrayal, the fear, the history of trust turned sour. Her mind replayed every moment, every kindness that had been a mask for control. Every laugh that had been punctuated by subtle threats. Tears pricked her eyes, not from sadness alone, but from the exhaustion of surviving manipulation, of living in constant hyper-awareness. She had built walls to protect herself from her own vulnerability, and now those walls were tested in ways she hadn't anticipated. And yet, amid the fear and betrayal, a spark of determination glimmered. She would survive. She would not let the trauma define her. And perhaps she could even find love along the way. Even if it was complicated, even if it was uncertain. If you're already feeling the tension between Adae and Jiyeon, smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, and comment below what you'd do if you were in Adae's shoes. Let's see who can survive this toxic friendship. Adae's phone vibrated violently against the desk. She flinched, not because of the sound, but because she already knew what it meant. Her manager's name glowed on the screen. She swallowed, wiped her palms against her skirt, and answered, "Hello, sir." There was no greeting. "Did you send the figures to the client yesterday or not?" The voice snapped. Adae's heart skipped. "Yes, I sent exactly what I was instructed to send. I double-checked. Don't lie to me," he cut in. "The client says the projections are wrong. We lost the account." Her chest tightened. "That's not possible. Those figures came directly from..." "Enough." A pause. Cold, final. "The board wants accountability. HR will contact you." The call ended, just like that. Adae stared at the black screen. Her reflection faint in the glass, her ears rang. The office noise around her blurred into a distant hum. She felt it, that familiar sinking sensation like the ground, had quietly disappeared beneath her feet. By afternoon it was official. She sat across from HR, hands folded so tightly her nails dug into her skin. "We understand this is difficult," the woman said without looking at her. "But the decision has been made." Adabe's voice came out hoarse. "So, the mistake from senior management. I'm the one paying for it." Silence, then. "You're being let go effective immediately. No apology, no acknowledgement, just procedure." She packed her desk in a cardboard box, moving like someone underwater. Photos, a notebook, a pen tie. Hai Hun had lent her and never asked back for. She didn't cry. Not yet, outside. The city moved on without her. People laughed. Trains arrived. Life continued. She felt invisible. That night, she didn't go home. She walked. Past neon signs. Past cafes filled with people who still had somewhere to be tomorrow. Her phone buzzed again. "Tai Han, did HR talk to you?" She hesitated, then typed, "I lost the job." 3 dots appeared instantly. "What? That's insane. You carried that entire project." She stopped walking, chest tightening. "That's what I said." His reply came slower this time. "Where are you?" "Just walking." "Don't do that. I'm coming." When they met, she finally broke, not loudly, not dramatically. She sat on a bench and stared at the pavement while tears slid down silently, her shoulders shaking like she was trying to hold herself together by force. "I did everything right," she whispered, "everything, and it still wasn't enough." Tae Hun sat beside her, close but careful. "They needed a scapegoat." She laughed bitterly. "Of course they did, and I was easy." Her mind spiraled. Rent, food, Jian, the locked door, the money demands. Depression crept in quietly like fog. By the time she returned to the apartment days later, something in her had dulled. Jian noticed immediately. "No work today?" she asked lightly, scrolling through her phone. Adae didn't answer. Oh, Jian looked up, eyes sharp. "Don't tell me you lost the job." Adae's jaw tightened. "It's temporary." Jian smiled, slow, satisfied. That's unfortunate. You know, without income, things get complicated." Adae felt something cold slide down her spine. That night, she lay awake staring at the ceiling, memories clawing their way back. Before Seoul, before corporate jobs, before survival mode. Art. She used to draw for hours portraits, abstract emotions, pieces born from pain and hope. Back then, she'd uploaded her work online under a pseudonym. It wasn't a career, just her. Jian knew about it. She had once said, "You're talented." But talent doesn't sell. Adae closed her eyes. Days passed. Then one afternoon, scrolling mindlessly at a coffee, Adae froze. Her breath caught. There on a popular art page was a piece she recognized instantly. Her piece, same lines, same symbolism, same emotion. Different name, Jian's name. Her heart began to race. She clicked the profile, more pieces, all hers, all uploaded under Jian's identity. The caption read, "Sold out." Adae's hands shook so violently she nearly dropped her phone. "No, no, no," she whispered. That night, she confronted her. "You told me my art never sold." Jian didn't even look surprised, did I? "You told me no one wanted it." Jian shrugged. "Maybe I was wrong. You stole it." Adae's voice cracked. "You stole my work, my identity." Jian finally looked up, eyes calm, dangerous. "I used it. There's a difference." Adae felt dizzy. "You lied to me, you watched me struggle, and you survived, NJ," Jan interrupted. "You should thank me. If I told you it was selling, you'd have left, and I needed you here." The words hit harder than any slap. You needed me. Adae whispered. Yes. Jiyeon smiled. You're useful. Something inside Adae snapped. Weeks later, the truth surfaced. A buyer reached out directly to Adae's old email, confused, curious. The art was hers, the sales were real, and Jiyeon had been collecting the money. When Adae told Taehoon, he went quiet. She didn't just betray you, he said slowly. She erased you. Adae nodded, tears slipping down. And I let her know, he said firmly. She exploited you. Silence stretched between them. Then he added softly, but this is also your way out. Adae inhaled shockily. For the first time in weeks, something stirred beneath the fear. Hope. But Jiyeon wasn't done, not even close. If this story is pulling you in, pause for 1 second. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, and comment if you've ever been blamed for something you didn't do. Your support keeps stories like this alive. Adae stopped believing in miracles the day she lost her job. Not because she was lazy, not because she was careless, but because the people above her decided it was easier to blame someone who had no power. She had been doing well, better than she ever imagined she could in a foreign country that constantly reminded her she didn't belong. Every morning, she left the apartment before Jiyeon woke up. Every night, she came back exhausted but hopeful. She saved every extra one, hiding the money in an envelope taped behind a loose wall. Panel in her room. This is it, she used to think. This is how I escape. She worked at a mid-sized marketing firm in Seoul. Nothing glamorous but stable. She stayed late, volunteered for extra tasks, fixed errors that weren't hers. When clients praised a campaign, manager nodded and accepted the credit with a smile that never reached his eyes. Adae didn't complain. She told herself survival came before pride. The mistake happened on a Friday. A rushed campaign went live with the wrong data attached. Numbers inflated, promises exaggerated. The client was furious. The board wanted a name. Adae was called into the glass conference room that afternoon. She still remembered how her palms sweated as she sat down, how the city looked blurred behind the windows. This campaign, her manager said calmly, tapping the tablet, was assigned to you. Adae's heart skipped. No, she said softly. I reviewed it, but the final approval. You signed off on the draft. I flagged the errors. I sent an email. He smiled. Do you have proof? She did. She knew she did. But when she opened her inbox later, the emails were gone. Deleted. The server logs showed nothing. By Monday, her access card didn't work. Just like that, she was unemployed. She didn't tell Jiyeon immediately. For weeks, Adae pretended. She dressed for work, left the apartment, Saturday in cafes until her legs ached. She applied for jobs until her eyes burned. Every rejection felt heavier than the last. The envelope behind the wall got thinner. Her chest started hurting again. That familiar pressure, the kind that made it hard to breathe. Depression crept back quietly, like an old enemy who knew exactly where she was weakest. Jiyeon noticed the changes. You're home a lot lately, she said one evening, stirring noodles on the stove. Are they giving you remote days? Adae hesitated. Something like that. Jiyeon smiled. Lucky you. Adae nodded, swallowing the lie. At night, when sleep refused to come, Adae pulled out her sketchbook. Art had been her first love before Korea. Before survival mode, before fear. She used to paint emotions, raw, uncomfortable things, faces with fractured expressions, women caught between rage and silence. Her work had once been featured online years ago. Under a pseudonym, she abandoned when life got hard. She stopped posting, stopped believing it mattered. But that night, she painted again. And the night after that, she didn't know Jiyeon watched from the doorway sometimes, saying nothing, memorizing everything. One afternoon, weeks later, Adae came home early and froze. Her laptop was open on the dining table. Not just open, logged into an account she hadn't touched in years. Her old art page. Her stomach dropped. Jiyeon, she called. Her roommate walked out calmly, phone in hand. Oh, you're back already. Why is my page open? Jiyeon blinked. What page? That, Adae said, voice shaking, pointing. That's my work. Jiyeon glanced at the screen, then laughed lightly. Oh, this, I found it accidentally. Your art is interesting. Adae stepped closer, her breath caught. New posts. Recent ones. Her paintings. Uploaded yesterday under a different name. What did you do? Adae whispered. Jian shrugged. Relax, I was just testing something. Testing what? Whether anyone still cared. Adae's hands trembled. You had no right. Jian's eyes hardened for half a second before she masked it. You weren't using it. That doesn't mean no one was buying your art before, Jian interrupted. I checked. Years ago. Nothing sold. The words hit like a slap. Adae felt small, stupid for ever believing in herself. Oh, she murmured, okay. That night she cried quietly into her pillow, convinced she had imagined the value of her own talent. Weeks passed. Money ran out. Adae took a part-time cleaning job to survive, hiding the uniform in her bag so Jian wouldn't see. Her body ached constantly, her spirit felt hollow. Then, one evening, everything cracked. A message popped up on Adae's phone from an unknown number. Is this the artist behind Fragments of Her? Adae frowned. Yes, she replied cautiously. We'd like to discuss licensing your work. Several of your recent pieces sold within hours. Her heart stopped, sold. That wasn't possible. She opened the link attached, her art page. Under Jian's alias, thousands of likes, comments praising the emotional depth, screenshots of sold listings. Adae's knees gave out. She sank onto the floor. Her art hadn't failed. It had been stolen. When Jian came home later, Adae was waiting. The apartment felt different, heavy, charged. We need to talk, Adae said, voice steady despite the storm inside her. Jian frowned. About what? My art? Jian sighed dramatically. We've been over this. No, Adae said. We haven't. She stood holding up her phone. You told me my work never sold. Jian's eyes flickered. You told me no one cared. Silence. Adae swallowed hard. Why are people messaging me about sales? The air shifted. Jian smiled slowly, not kindly, not apologetically. You should thank me, she said. If I hadn't posted it, you'd still be crying over nothing. Adae felt fear coil in her stomach, real fear. That was my identity, Jian. Stepped closer. You abandoned it. That doesn't make it yours, Jian's voice dropped. Everything in this apartment exists because I allow it. Adae realized then that the betrayal wasn't accidental. It was deliberate, calculated, and far deeper than she ever imagined. Adae and I didn't sleep that night. Every sound in the apartment felt louder. Every shadow looked like a threat. Jian moved around freely, humming as if nothing had happened, as if she hadn't just admitted to stealing someone else's. Seoul. Adae lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, her chest tight. She understood something now. Jian didn't just want her art. She wanted control. Morning came too quickly. Adae moved quietly, grabbing her bag and leaving before Jian woke up. She needed air, space. Proof she wasn't imagining things. She went to the small cafe near the river where she sometimes sketched when life felt unbearable. The barista recognized her. Long time, he said gently. She nodded. Yeah. Her phone vibrated again. Another message. We'd love to meet the artist in person. Her fingers trembled as she typed. The account isn't mine. Someone else has been posting. 3 dots appeared, then stopped, then appeared again. That's impossible. We signed a contract yesterday. Adae's heart dropped into her stomach, a contract. She felt dizzy. The room spun slightly. Who did you meet? She typed. The reply came slower this time. A woman named Jian. Adae's breath caught, her vision blurred. Jian hadn't just stolen her art. She'd monetized it. She stood abruptly, chair scraping against the floor, ignoring the curious glances. Her body moved on instinct, straight back to the apartment. Jian was in the living room, dressed neatly, makeup flawless, sipping tea. You're back early, she said pleasantly. Adae dropped her bag. You signed contracts using my work. Jian tilted her head. So? Adae laughed, sharp and broken. That's fraud. Jian's smile didn't waver. It's business. That's my name. My emotions, my trauma on those canvases. And now they matter, Jian snapped suddenly. Because I made them matter. The sudden shift in her tone made Adae flinch. You would have ruined it, Yan continued. You're unstable, emotional, always breaking down. Adae's hands clenched. I was depressed because of you, Jay. Yan stepped closer, too close. You were depressed long before me, she whispered. I just took advantage, fear flooded Adae's veins. This wasn't a misunderstanding. This was a predator. Adae backed away slowly. I want access to the account. Jian laughed. Number, I want you to stop using my work. Number Adae's voice shook. Then I'll report you. Jigen's eyes darkened. To who? You don't have money. You don't have proof. You don't even have a job. The words cut deep. You think anyone will believe you over me? Ji, Yan continued calmly. A struggling foreigner versus a successful Korean creative. Adae felt herself shrinking. Old trauma resurfaced. The feeling of being trapped, powerless. Her phone buzzed again. Tae-hyun, she hesitated, then answered. Are you okay? His voice asked softly. Adae swallowed. Number, where are you? She glanced at Jian, who was watching her closely. At home, I'm coming. Jian's lips curved into a slow smile. Is that your little boyfriend? Adae ended the call, hands shaking. You invited someone here? Jian asked, voice sharp now. I needed help, Adae said quietly. Jian's smile vanished. You don't get to do that. Something in her tone made Adae's skin crawl. Minutes later, there was a knock. Tae-hyun stood at the door, concern written all over his face. What's going on? He asked as he stepped inside. Jian straightened immediately, her voice turning sweet. You must be Tae-hyun. I've heard so much about you. He nodded politely, eyes never leaving Adae. She looks shaken. She's emotional, Jay, Yan said lightly. She exaggerates. Adae felt anger surge through her fear. She stole my work, Adae said, voice breaking but loud enough to be heard. My art, my identity. Tae-hyun turned to Jiyan. Is that true? Jiyan sighed. She's confused. I'm not, Adae said. I have messages, contracts, proof. Jiyan's jaw tightened. You should leave, Jiyan said to Tae-hyun. He didn't move. I don't think so. For the first time, Jiyan looked unsettled. This doesn't concern you, she snapped. It does if she's being threatened. Adae's heart raced. Jiyan laughed softly, but it sounded hollow. You have no idea who you're dealing with. Tae-hyun met her gaze, and you have no idea how visible this is about to become. Silence stretched between them. Adae realized something then. She wasn't alone anymore. And Jiyan realized it too. Her control was slipping. Jiyan didn't shout. That was what frightened Adae the most. She smiled again, slow and deliberate, as if recalculating, as if shifting to a different plan. You're overreacting, Jay, Yan said calmly. We can talk about this like adults. Tae-hyun stepped slightly closer to Adae, not touching her, but close enough that she felt grounded. You signed contracts using work that isn't yours, he said. That's serious. Yan exhaled softly. You think corporations care about truth. They care about profit. Adae's voice trembled. Give me back the account. Jian looked at her then. Really looked at her. The pity in her eyes burned worse than anger. You wouldn't survive the attention, she said. The interviews, the pressure. You break too easily. Adae felt the words land inside her chest, stirring memories she hated. Panic attacks, sleepless nights, crying alone in bathrooms, being told she was too much, too fragile. Tae-hyun turned sharply. That's enough. Jiyeon's eyes flicked to him. You think you're saving her? Yes, Jiyeon laughed quietly. Men like you always think love fixes broken things. Adae stiffened. I'm not broken. Jiyeon tilted her head. Then why were you hiding your money behind walls? Why did you lie about your job? Why did you let me run your life? The truth hurt because it was layered with manipulation. Adae's knees weakened, but Tae-hyun caught her arm gently. She trusted you, he said. That's not weakness. Jiyeon's smile finally cracked. You should leave, she said again, sharper now. Both of you. Tae-hyun didn't move. We're done talking. Jiyeon's gaze darkened. Then you've made a mistake. That night, Adae stayed at Tae-hyun's place. She didn't want to. Pride told her to be strong. Trauma told her to survive. His apartment was small, quiet, safe. She sat on the couch, staring at nothing while he made tea. I'm scared, she said suddenly. He handed her the cup. I know. She knows everything about me, Adae whispered. My triggers, my past. She used them. Tae-hun sat across from her. People like that collect weaknesses. Tears slipped down her face. I feel stupid. He shook his head. You were surviving. Silence settled between them. Then he said softly, Your art is incredible. Adae looked up. You've seen it. Yes, he said. Before all this, I recognized it immediately. Her breath caught. Why didn't you say anything? Because I didn't want to pressure you. That was the moment something shifted. Not fireworks, safety. She leaned forward suddenly, resting her forehead against his shoulder, and cried deep, shaking sobs she had been holding in for months. He didn't rush her, didn't tell her to be strong. He just stayed. The next morning, everything exploded. Adee's phone flooded with notifications, emails, messages, missed calls. Her art page, Jiyoung's page, was trending. But not for the reason Jiyoung expected. Simone had posted side-by-side comparisons, original timestamps, old archived posts. Adee's abandoned pseudonym resurfaced. Comments multiplied. Why is this artist's identity changing? Something feels off. This style existed years ago under a different name. Adee's hands shook as she scrolled. Jiyoung had been exposed, not fully, but enough. Then a message came through. From Jiyoung. Did you do this? Adae stared at the screen. Another message followed. You think this makes you powerful? Another. You don't know what I'm capable of. Fear wrapped around her spine. Taehyun read the messages over her shoulder, his jaw tightened. We go to a lawyer, he said. Now, at the office, the truth poured out. The contracts, the stolen identity, the emotional manipulation. The lawyer listened carefully. This is serious, she said, and dangerous. Adae swallowed. What do I do? You take control of your narrative. By evening, Jingyan went live. Adae watched, heart pounding. Jaeon sat in perfect lighting, eyes red, voice trembling. I've been accused of stealing, she said softly. By someone I tried to help. Adee's stomach twisted. She's unstable, Jaeon continued. She struggles with mental health. I protected her. The comments exploded. Sympathy, doubt, confusion. Adae felt herself slipping. Taehyun took her phone gently. You don't respond emotionally. But she's lying. She's baiting. That night, Adae made a decision. She went live too. No makeup, no filters. Just truth. My name is Adae, she said, voice shaking but clear. And that art is mine. She spoke about the friendship, the betrayal, the job loss, the manipulation, the fear. She didn't beg. She didn't cry. She told the truth. And people listened. Adae didn't sleep that night. Her apartment felt too quiet, too still. Every shadow seemed to twitch with the memory of Jaehyun's laughter, that soft, insidious tone that had followed her since the day she arrived in Seoul. Stared at the ceiling, remembering how close she had once been to Jiyeon, how every kindness had been a carefully placed trap, and how easily trust had been twisted into control. Her phone buzzed repeatedly, messages from strangers congratulating her on the exposure. Emails from buyers wanting to purchase her work. Notifications from social media, streams of comments. Some supportive, some judgmental, but all of it confirming that the truth had surfaced. Taehyun arrived quietly around midnight, the key in his hand. I couldn't sleep, he said, settling on the couch beside her. I needed to check that you were okay. She exhaled slowly. I'm not fully okay, but I can't let her steal this anymore. I can't let her control me, he nodded. You've done everything, right? You reclaimed what's yours. I know, she whispered, voice trembling. But part of me keeps wondering, was it worth all the pain, the lies, the months of doubt, depression, fear? Taehyun's hand brushed hers, tentative but grounding. You survived. And that's everything. She looked at him, and for the first time she allowed herself to feel something beyond fear and exhaustion. Warmth, comfort, a fragile thread of hope. Her heart thudded awkwardly, betraying her Saiyan. Usual control. I don't even know how to feel about you right now, she admitted, cheeks flushing. I don't either, he said softly. But maybe we don't have to figure it out. Not yet. Adee's lips twitched into the smallest of smiles. That's nice to hear. The next morning, reality hit. Her phone erupted again. Jian had tried to go public, posting videos claiming she had helped Adae, spun as a tale of generosity and mentorship. But each post backfired. People dug, archives surfaced, and even the platforms flagged the account. Adae read everything with a tight chest, rage, fear, and vindication all mingled inside her. Her body was tense, every nerve raw, but she refused to let Jian's presence dominate her day. She had work to do, real work, her work for herself. Weeks later, Adae's art opened in a small studio gallery. Not a viral sensation, not a headline, just pure, quiet recognition. People walked through the room in subdued awe, lingering over her. Faces of women fractured by emotion, colors torn between despair and hope, brush strokes alive with vulnerability and strength. She stood at the entrance, shoulders tense, hands clenched, waiting for feedback. Tae-hun stayed near the back, watching her, pride and admiration softening his normally guarded expression. "People like it?" she whispered under her breath, though she didn't need to. "They love it," he said quietly. "They really do." Her fingers tingled. The months of manipulation, depression, and betrayal had led to this moment. She felt exhausted, scared, alive, and fragile all at once. Later, when the gallery quieted and she stepped outside for fresh air, Tae-hun caught her hand. She looked up at him, startled by the warmth in his eyes. "I'm proud of you," he said simply. Adae's chest tightened. I'm still scared," she admitted. "Not just about Jian, but everything. That I'll trust the wrong person again. That I'll let someone control me. That I'll be vulnerable and it will hurt." He squeezed her hand. "Scared is okay. That's normal. What you've survived. Most people couldn't handle it. But look at you. You're here. You're choosing." A tear slipped down her cheek. "I thought I'd never get here," she whispered. "You did," he said softly. "And you're not alone anymore." The next day, she received a call from a former client who had seen her gallery posts. They wanted to commission original works. The thrill was immediate. Her hands shook as she jotted down ideas. Real work, real recognition, her name finally attached to her creations. But amidst the triumph, Adae couldn't shake the trauma. Memories of Jiyeon lingered, her laughter, the manipulations, the padlocks, the stolen identity. She had to rebuild more than her career. She had to rebuild herself. One evening, months later, she confronted Jiyeon one final time. Not out of rage, not to fight, but to close the chapter. Her phone vibrated, Jiyeon's name. Adae took a deep breath. "I'm done being scared," she typed. "I know what you did. I've reclaimed my life. I'm moving forward. Leave me alone." The reply came almost instantly. "You think this ends with you?" Adae stared at it, then deleted the conversation. Her chest was tight, but the fear didn't hold her. She had power now over her identity, her art, her narrative, and she would not hand it back to anyone. Weeks turned into months. Jiyeon disappeared from her life. Silent, no threats, no messages. Only the echo of lessons learned, wounds slowly healing. Adae returned to painting with fervor, sometimes working late into the night. Tae-hun stayed close, sometimes quietly observing, sometimes sitting beside her. She didn't lean on him for safety anymore. She didn't need to, but his presence was comfort, proof that trust could exist without betrayal. One rainy afternoon, as she finished a new canvas, she looked at him. "I don't know what the future holds," she said softly, "but I know I can face it." He smiled. "And I'll face it with you." For the first time, Adae laughed softly, not bitterly, not nervously, truly. Her art exhibition grew. Orders, commissions, and messages poured in. People praised her resilience, her talent, her story. But it wasn't the recognition that mattered most. It was the knowledge she had survived and reclaimed her life, her identity, her passion, and her heart. Tae-hun and Adae walked through her gallery one evening, empty but for them. "Do you ever think about her?" he asked quietly. She paused, studying a canvas. "I do," she admitted. "Sometimes, and I feel anger and fear. But mostly, I feel relief. Relief that I'm not hers anymore, that I belong to myself first." He nodded. "Good, that's where you should belong." The camera lingers on Adae's face as she steps back to view her work, vulnerable yet strong, haunted yet alive. Light spills across the canvases, highlighting each brushstroke, like a memory reclaimed. And then, the question lingers, heavy in the air, how many people live their lives shrinking, staying silent, pretending to survive, because speaking the truth feels too dangerous. How long before silence becomes the cost of their own existence? Adae doesn't answer. The screen fades to black. If Ade's journey inspired you, smash that like button, subscribe, and comment below. How would you fight to reclaim your life if someone stole your identity? Share your story and stay part of this cinematic journey.